are back, and it is good to be alive right about now. And we are joined by Miss Maggie Looney of Cheesehead TV. Say hello, Maggie.
Hello, live show. I don't know. Hi, everyone.
Yeah,
the first and goalers. We're here. They're excited.
To Agent Busby, yeah. So first and goalers, I guess, is the official term we are going with.
Okay.
The Packers princess. That's what I got to call you because you just came on the scene and burst on, and you have been awesome since you've come on, Maggie. I'm a big fan.
I mean, I'll take it, I guess.
Okay, rule one, Maggie. First and foremost, all
Yep.
of our first-time guests get what we call brag time. We want to know where you came from, what you've done, all the great stuff you should get credit for, and give yourself a hug and a pat on the back while you're at it. Your time, Maggie. Shoot.
All right. I started writing about the Packers in September of 2018. For a site called the Lombardi Lounge that has since dissolved. And after that, I now podcast for the Pack a Day podcast every couple weeks, and I write 2 articles a week for Cheesehead TV.
All over the place.
Feels like it.
And what are your?
I love it. It's good
content. How do we get a
content.
hold of you on Facebook, on social media? What's your tags, your hashes, your likes, your how do you snap face and book chat with people?
I don't Snapchat. I do, but it's not like public. And I guess you can find all my work with the Cheesehead TV Facebook, but on Twitter. My app is still Maggie Lawler, but I just got married, so you can also search by Maggie Looney as well.
I'm very jealous, by the way. I saw you got married at Lambeau Field.
I did get married at Lambeau Field.
Oh, God. When I saw that, I was literally drooling, and then I saw your wedding pictures you put up, and I'm like, oh, my God, I want this. I'm not even a bride. Why is this happening?
I couldn't have asked for a better day.
It looked like you had a great day, and I'm glad you had it there. It looked like you were completely at peace with the whole day.
Yeah, couldn't have planned it any better.
Is your husband a Packer fan?
Oh.
What was that?
Been a Packer fan.
No, my husband is a Cleveland Browns fan, and it works out really well for us because we only have to argue once every 4 years. So he's not like a Bears fan or a rival fan, so I'll take it. It's fine.
Well, he's got to be pretty excited for the upcoming season for Cleveland. I mean, the changes they've made in the past 2 years, it's amazing.
Yeah, I actually bought us tickets to go down to the home opener against the Titans week 1.
Very nice.
So that'll be a good time. We're in the dog pound. So that'll be a good story.
I'm sure you'll get some stories from there. Oh, God. Well, you know what? I got to come out and say it. We were just talking about this in the news. How do you feel about the whole Tyreek Hill situation and him not being suspended?
Well, I was listening in before you guys brought me on, and I mean, I think you summed it up. I'm not happy about it. I don't know how any fan can be happy about it. And I think that there is a ridiculous amount of double standards in the league. I think one of you had mentioned, you smoke marijuana and you get a couple games, or you may have knowledge of deflating a football and you get a couple games, and
yep,
you can do something like this and just walk away from it. So, there's got to be some type of regulation to this. It shouldn't just be, oh, you're super talented, because it obviously didn't work for Tom Brady. Tom Brady's one of the best to ever do it, and he still got his suspension. So
yep.
At some point, the rules have to be the rules, and your talent shouldn't get to, matter at that point.
It's the second time, too, Maggie. This is the thing. This is the second time a domestic abuse problem has come up with Hill, and it's like it's just being shoved underneath the rug, and it's right in the center of national NFL media. And, like, the fans are all sitting here like us, like, what is going on? And I know Chiefs fans are happy. I get that, but it's just the whole fact that still it goes beyond football. This This is human beings that are being affected with verbal and physical abuse. And it's just something that I can't believe the NFL took a stance on saying, oh, yeah, we're going against domestic abuse. Well, they're not doing anything about it. That goes against their whole campaign for it.
I guess.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm sorry there, Maggie. I guess my point just became that at some point I think we need to put human lives and human interaction towards each other above self-destructive behavior, especially things that we find that are self-destructive if they're legal. Like, are we going to start just suspending people for being sex addicts now? I mean, it just, I guess the lines are just so blurred now with what we are saying is actually suspendable and what's egregious behavior and what isn't. I'm getting confused with what the whole thing's all about anymore.
Yeah, and I mean, the point that I was going to make is just if you look at what happened with the Chiefs and Kareem Hunt, the situations were handled so differently that it's kind of jarring. It doesn't make sense that they took such an aggressive stand against Kareem Hunt. I expected them to do something similar with Tyreek Hill, and then they didn't. So that was surprising to me. I thought that, maybe that the Chiefs organization would step up and acknowledge something, and they kind of just swept it away, which was unfortunate.
Hunt literally got kicked to the curb. It amazed me with that. And then, like you said, Tyreek just nothing, like he was just still part of the family. And I'm like, really? I'm like, they act like people don't have families there.
We have to ask the question now, is the result of what happened with Kareem Hunt and the fact that they don't have the requisite talent really ready to step up to replace those guys, are we really looking at an organization going, boy, if we get rid of Tyreek Hill, what do we have left really on offense? Because if Kelsey gets hurt, we weren't able to replace Kareem Hunt. I mean, I have to ask them the question now, are you now making moral, judgmental decisions based on the fact that you're worried about your product on the field instead of what's morally right and what the rules state?
I mean, I think there's some truth to that. On one of the recent episodes from Pack-A-Day, we had to break down the Chiefs game, and we did talk about the fact that outside of Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, you haven't gotten the production that you expected from Sammy Watkins. So that receiving core is not too phenomenal, and if you lose Tyreek Hill, Patrick Mahomes doesn't have a lot of stability outside of Travis Kelce. So it wouldn't shock me if it was completely a football decision and not, an ethical decision.
It's just sad if they did take football talent above actual human morals. It just really is. If there is any factor to that, I really hope there isn't. But Chiefs organization, I hope you come out and you give him something if that's the case, because the audio was there as clear evidence. But anyways, Meg, I got to move on. It's a touchy subject, and I know I don't want to get Jay fired up. I'm sure you heard him go off earlier before we brought you on. And I got to ask you about this. Actually, NFL owners have put on the table that they want an 18-game schedule. And I don't think they're serious about it. I think they're using it as a bargaining chip. What do you think of the 18-game proposal? Do you think it's serious or not?
I think it is, like you said, a bargaining chip. It wouldn't shock me if it was just a way for them to get leverage. I'm fully on board with the 16-game schedule. I don't think you need to fix something that's not broken. I don't understand why they would want to change it. And I really like the 4 preseason games because there's a lot of undrafted talent that relies on those games to latch onto the roster. And if it's not an audition for the team they're with, it's an audition for the entire league. So if you limit the amount of preseason games that those guys get to play, you might be missing out on some potential NFL talent that just didn't get the opportunity because they were buried in a depth chart. I will say that if the structure had to change, I've seen some people proposing the idea of a 17-week schedule with 2 bye weeks. But, that still is extending the season a little bit. And then that is asking your players to play one more game, considering that there is an injury risk involved with that.
We just actually had Brandon, Dr. Super Bowl, come on recently, and he proposed that they do an 18-week schedule but at 3 bye weeks instead of 2, just given basically teams to get more healthy and to basically have every team competitive at their best, rather than having people all worn out, like what you just recommended, 2 bye weeks. And I agree, if they were going to do that with 17 weeks or 18 weeks, 2 or 3 bye weeks, you're at least keeping your players healthy. I mean, it's not you're not forcing your players to sit out active games, it's bye weeks. So, I mean, that's an argument there. But do you think if the owners stand by this, do you think there's any chance of a lockout from the Players Association? Because I know DeMaurice Smith he stands his ground, and we had a lockout a couple years ago from it.
Yeah, I mean, Richard Sherman back in September of last year promised that there was going to be a lockout from the players in 2021. Like, he all but said that it was 100% happening unless, their demands were met. And I know that one of those big demands is guaranteed contracts, because if you look at someone like Zach Miller or Alex Smith, where you get these traumatic injuries or even Ryan Shazier, where these guys maybe can never play again. Some of them have stepped away. Some of them plan to come back. And the Steelers, I know, were really good about keeping Shazier on their roster so that they could continue paying him. But think of all the money now that he's losing. And
health insurance, too.
Right. And that's such a huge part of it that I don't blame them for wanting to protect themselves long-term.
Oh, God, no.
When you consider things like CTE and, their long-term health once they step away from the game.
I'm just going to jump in here quick, maybe, because that prompted a thought here. Are we maybe needing to consider that the players need to really prioritize what they really want for the next generation of football players? Because when I look back at 2011, what the CBA we have now is veteran players created a CBA and agreed to a CBA that was good for veteran players. The lack of practice, the lack of time and training that's afforded to the first 4 years of players, and the way they're paid, especially if you're like a running back, is not friendly to a young player to get him to be a vested veteran in this league. It was a very selfish way. And when I hear players wanting guaranteed contracts and health insurance and this, when there's 2 sports that I love that have a 1,000 and guaranteed injury risk, MMA and football. And those are 2 sports where there ain't no guarantees in nothing because of that injury risk. And so if you want something, you might have to consider from a player's point of view of taking less money for that guarantee so that you can have full guaranteed contracts, but also have lifetime health insurance and retirement benefits. So instead of being able to get an Aaron Rodgers $33 million a year fully guaranteed contract, Aaron Rodgers is going to have to accept $20 million a year guaranteed and get all those extra benefits in the side. Is that more of a plausible thing than what they're looking at now?
I think that's fair. I think that makes sense. I think that players are always going to want more, especially when you look at like the contracts that NBA players are getting now, just astronomical amounts of money in what definitely is considered a lower risk sport. The risk of injury is a lot less. But I do think that you have players now that are taking up the mantle, not just for them, but for the future of the sport. You look at how things are changing. There's talk of the 3-point stance potentially going away. There are no longer Oklahoma drills. We no longer have 2-a-day practices. You can't even wear pads for some of your practices. So the NFL is taking these conscientious steps to make the game safer. And I think the players now are realizing that they have to partner with some of those initiatives to protect the game. They want to protect the integrity of the game, and part of that is protecting yourself, making sure that you can play long term and that the people that come after you get those same type of protections from the league.
Well, actually, speaking of